Okay, so forgive me for not really looking at the camera right now. I'm focusing really on my monitor right now. Earlier, I did record a full podcast, realizing that my computer froze and none of the footage is being used. So I'm just gonna go over it again. Welcome to the year 2021. We are Coffee Time News. We're ringing in the new year in the best way possible with a lot of weird shit going on. So, of course, everyone knows what happened January 6th. The election was certified, and Joe Biden is going to be the next president of the United States. Um, but before all that happened, some rebellion went on at the Capitol. Now, the media is already stating that it was Trump supporters that got riled up, started breaking in, looting the place, rioting, everything like that. But of course, other media news sources that are unbiased are stating that it's actually Antifa members that were posing as Trump supporters that caused a lot of the violence and chaos going on. Now, I have said before, and I'll say it again, I do not condone any type of violence. In that instance, I do believe there is a time and place for actual rebellion whenever civil liberties are being taken away from us. But in that instance, there was no need for it to escalate to that point. Now, with that said, even if these people were Trump supporters, it is not a surprise that this actually happened. Especially when over 75 million people's voices were just denied in one instance. And that is exactly what happened. Now, a lot of people on the left will state, if this was a Black Lives Matter protest, they would have been met with this. More people would have died, yada, yada. Why would they just let into the Capitol? How could they have just done this? They need to be persecuted, whatever. To that, I say that is a load of bullshit. Because you were quiet the entire time there was rioting, there was looting, there was killing, there was burning of buildings, there was burning of small businesses. These people that you were sworn to be fighting for, their businesses were destroyed. So you have no room to talk. Because at least on our side, we could condemn what happened that day. But I have yet to meet anyone that was really actually politically a Democrat condemn what happened during that time. Because there was always making excuses. Well, they, just felt so much injustice. They felt like their voices weren't being heard, and this is the only way they could have shown it. But that's bullshit. Because there's always another way. Now, again, there's two different ways to handle this. There's the correct way.
We have just been through an intense election, and emotions are high. But now tempers must be cooled and calm restored. A new administration will be inaugurated on January 20th. My focus now turns to ensuring a smooth, orderly, and seamless transition of power. This moment calls for healing and reconciliation.
And the wrong way.
What we witnessed yesterday was not dissent, it was not disorder, it was not protest, it was chaos. They weren't protesters. Don't dare call them protesters. They were a riotous mob, insurrectionists, domestic terrorists.
And in this instance, Joe Biden, who is supposed to be our great uniter, especially coming from the left, where saying, it's time for unity, it's time for healing, did none of that during his speech. And I'm not one just to talk shit. When I see bullshit, I point it out. And it's funny because this person that is supposed to be y'all's beacon of hope, I have still yet to understand why people voted for him, other than the fact that they didn't like Trump. I have spoken to many Biden-Harris supporters and asked them, what do you find in favor for Biden? What made you want to vote for him? Without saying Trump's name, without mentioning Trump, why do you want him to be your next president? And none of them could tell me anything. Now, there's some that were able to be like, because of these policies, whatever. But whenever I asked them about their policies, especially like the Green New Deal or, going toward all this different shit, going back to the Paris Accords, all that stuff, I ask them, well, do you know about these policies? And they tell me no. And I'm like, well, if you actually looked into these policies, and I explain a little bit, I don't know them full hand, but I know enough to get the general gist of it. Whenever I tell them about these policies, they're kind of like dumbfounded, like, wait, what? And that's exactly what's so weird, because anytime I have the conversation with an opposing view, it's never as a gotcha moment. It's never as, oh, I'm smarter than you or I'm better than you. The point of this podcast, or the point of this segment for sure, is to get conversation going. Is to get opposing views to talk to one another in a civil way without trying to, oh, well, you don't know what the hell you're talking about or you're stupid, this and that. No, it's just to create conversation. It's to get the different opinion. That's why me and Captions work so well together. We're two good friends that have opposing views on different things. We come together on some, but there's a lot of things that we oppose. In one of our last episodes, we talked about the fact of open carry. We had different views when it came to that. But at the same time, we were never trying to outdo the other or say we're better than the other. It was just conversation. And hopefully we came to a middle ground. So that's the whole point of this thing. And it sucks because we're most likely going to either get banned from YouTube, Facebook, and all the things just for having these opposing views. Because the world's biggest figure right now, the current U.S. president, Donald J. Trump, has been permanently banned from Twitter for apparently, their guidelines of misinformation, whatever. When you hear that, a lot of people are like, oh yeah, awesome, woohoo, finally. But at the same time, it's like, okay, well, what's to stop this big tech company from censoring everyone's voices? From censoring the people that they don't agree with? Because they are not a publisher. They're not supposed to be a publisher at that, because they follow different type of guidelines. They're supposed to just be a platform where people can freely say whatever they want to say. But of course, there are certain guidelines. Of course, you can't do calls to violence. You can't do all these other things. But whenever you're putting out sites that show different types of voter irregularities or showing, hey, we did this, we did that, we're taking this information to the Supreme Court. When you're presenting documentation and where those documents come, it's all of a sudden flagged for false information because it does a different type of narrative that the left is used to. So again, what's to stop these people from censoring your speech, whether you're a Republican or whether you're a Democrat? What's to stop them from censoring you? And on YouTube as well, a lot of channels get demonetized for just having a different opinion. People are getting demonetized for stating simple facts that a man's a man and a woman's a woman. Like, how is that so controversial to say? Even if you agree with that statement or not, that's like one of the most fundamental things you learn in school. Yet things like that are being broadcasted as, oh, hate speech, or hey, you're going to get removed because of this. I'm pretty sure this thing is going to get flagged, and we're going to have a little thing that states like, oh, the election's already been called for Joe Biden, whatever. So that's why it's like, okay, well, a lot of people are saying, well, why don't you just get a platform that you're able to do this, create your own thing? Y'all are such capitalists. Why don't y'all create y'all's own app so y'all can get together and have these discussions? Well, first off, that's not the point. The point is to have people with opposing views come together on a singular platform and have these discussions. Not really arguments, but discussions. But okay, we did that. We have a couple of apps here, such as Parler, such as WeMe, such as Both Sides, that are now getting banned on different platforms, such as like Apple, Google Store, all that stuff, that are being banned, that are to where you can't even find these things anymore on most phones. Luckily, I downloaded it way beforehand, but it's going to get taken off from these big tech companies because, again, it is an opposing view. It's not so we can be, have supremacy within our own political beliefs or whatever. It's just so we can have people like-minded to say these thoughts out loud to show that, hey, you have support. Like, you're not alone with these views. And also to invite conversation from the opposing side. But these sites are about to be taken down, speeches being removed for hate speech. Like, it's just ridiculous what is going on. because they're going to slowly start taking things away from you. Like the Biden-Harris administration already wants to do a gun confiscation. Regardless of what they call it, a mandatory buyback, whatever, they're confiscating firearms for not rich people. Because if you haven't heard what's going on, pretty much they want to ban assault weapons, which is so stupid because there's no such thing. There are rifles, there's pistols, there's shotguns, there's revolvers, but there's no assault weapons or weapons of war that we really use anymore. Or, oh, they have automatic weapons. Automatic weapons have been illegal for many years. What we have is semi-automatic weapons. But anyway, they want to ban these things because they look dangerous or, why should you have them? Well, first off, our Second Amendment states that it's none of your fucking business what we have. But either way, they're going to regulate that. So if you do want to keep your AR-15s, there's going to be a tax. And there's also going to be another tax on the amount of magazines you have, which is $200 per magazine plus what you owe on the firearm in order to keep it. Now, if you're broke like me, that's going to be hard to afford. If I have 2 magazines, that's $400 right there, which is more than most cheap guns that you can buy. That is more expensive than a Ruger 9mm. Just to have ammunition for that firearm in order to protect myself, I'm going to have to fork out more money. If I'm not rich, I'm screwed. So that's choosing who really gets to have these firearms. And again, it's none of the government's business what you have to defend yourself. That's not what the Second Amendment is about. It is the right to protect yourself against a tyrannical government, and they shall not be infringed on. That is how that ends, that your rights to bear arms will not be infringed on. And that's what's happening right now. Whether you're a gun person or not, that is the truth of what's happening right now. Now, hopefully during this administration, a lot of good things can come from it. I'm not going to be here and saying, oh, he's not my president like a lot of people did for Trump. Because first and foremost, I'm an American citizen. Whoever our president is, we have to show support. We have to acknowledge he is our president of the United States. That's my take on that. Now, I may not like the policies he wants to do, which I don't like a lot of his policies. Because I actually did research. Because I was like, why do people hate or not like Biden? And not him as a person, but why don't they like his policies? So I actually did research. I wasn't just going to take word of mouth like, oh, he's a bad person, he's a racist, which there's actual video documentation of that. But let's see what he's proposing and see if I agree with any of his points. So I went to his actual main website. Defunding police, don't agree with. Taking away firearms, don't agree with. The Green New Deal, I don't agree with. Joining the Paris Accord, I don't agree with. So a lot of his policies I do not agree with. That's why I didn't vote for him. That's why I voted for Trump, because I agreed with his policies. I don't have to like him as a person. He could be the biggest piece of shit, which a lot of people do believe, but as long as his policies are positive, who cares what he says? Who cares what he tweets? Because first off, he's human. He's going to make mistakes. He's going to say the wrong thing. But at the end of the day, as long as his policies put Americans first, it doesn't matter. Words do not matter. Actions do. So, I invite people that agree with me and people that don't agree with me to comment down below and tell me your thoughts about what's going to be happening. If I'm wrong, tell me I'm wrong and show me how I'm wrong. It is up to you to prove me wrong, not for me to prove myself right. This is the platform that we have chosen to voice our opinions on. And again, it may be taken down. So if you enjoy this, if you're listening on Google Podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, whatever, show support. Go to our YouTube, subscribe, hit a like button, hit a dislike button. Show us that you're listening. Even if you don't agree with my views, you have to really think that it's pretty cool to have someone that has an opposing view and that you could actually talk with. We have such a small audience right now to where I could reach out to you and tell you my point of view and you tell me your point of view and we try to find common ground. That's the point of this. It's not to say got you. It's not to create arguments, but it's to create common ground. It's to create conversation again, because conversations are easily shut down if you don't agree with someone. I could say, oh, water is wet. No, you're not. You're a fucking fascist, yada, yada. And then they walk away. I'm like, well, how's our conversation? If I'm wrong, tell me that I'm wrong. Tell me your stats. Tell me your proof. And we could find common ground in that. I could just say water is water. That's how we can come to common ground or something like that. But anyway, I've dragged on long enough. Hopefully y'all like this segment. Hopefully y'all will get to see more of this in 2021 if we're not shut down. But if you do support us, please, again, go to our YouTube channel, subscribe, follow us on Twitter, or we don't have Twitter, sorry. Follow us on Facebook. Twitter is just too much right now. I am on the Parler app. Let me see if I could give y'all my username on that. So for Parler, I am Justin Avalos 90. I'll link it down below. I am on Parler. You could always find me on Twitter. You could always find me on Instagram. It's always going to be It's Justin Avalos. And let me know your thoughts about everything that's been going on, and whether or not we're going to see a positive change come through with this new administration. I'm optimistic. I'm not going to completely shut him down. I did that with Trump, and I was completely wrong. I might be wrong about Biden. Hopefully, he doesn't do these things that he said he's going to do. Hopefully, the Senate and the House block him on a lot of things. And I hope he puts America first, because as much as y'all didn't like Trump, the one thing I can say for certain, and that it cannot be fact-checked, is he put Americans first. But that's it for this podcast. That's it for my little high horse speech. I hope y'all enjoyed, and we'll see you on the next one.